Meeting to order, roll call.
I forgot, a man with many hats. Trustee Marabella? Present. Here. Trustee Hargett? Here. Trustee Weiss? Here. Mayor Bruno?
Here.
Trustee McCarthy? Here. And Trustee Brady?
Here.
And Village Administrator David Larkon. She's usually first.
Right. Pledge?
Yes, sir.
Pledge allegiance, please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turn it over to our village administrator, Dave Allen.
First of all, I want to apologize for having to bring everybody back 2 days after the meeting. But I think that this is very important on many levels. As we know, we have ARPA money. In this ARPA money, we've really invested it into our water system. This has been an incremental process. With many years ago, the village starting with leak detection. We did about 2 rounds of leak detection within the last, I believe, 10 years. And then we didn't find any significant leaks. So the next step was a water loss study, which was performed this year. And now the results pointed more towards the high likelihood of it being the water meters. Taking a look at some of these water meters, we saw that a lot of them are over 30 years old. Lifespan is between 15 and 20 years old. As you are well aware, because Tim has reinforced this several times, we're not compliant right now with ID&R standards and water allocations, which is at 30% plus. The threshold is 8%. In working with the board and working with Tim, we came up with this idea of investing this money in the meters. So we came up with the meter exchange program. The reason why we're here today is we've been evaluating this, and originally what we were going to do is we were going to pay for upfront for the installation of the water meters for the next 2 years. Taking a look at what's happening on a national level with the discussions of possible tariffs and the reaction of industry, we kind of changed things around. In talking with Tim, we kind of changed things around, and we want to, instead of paying for the service up front through the ARPA funds, we want to purchase the communication equipment and purchase an additional 611 meters to have at the ready. As you're well aware, this program is a 3-year program being phased in. The majority of year 1 is going to be paid for through ARPA. The total amount is $1.6 million for this 3-year project, and ARPA is going to be paying the
719.
And the whole idea of using the ARPA money is the way the water meters are set up right now is the fact that the property owners own the water meter. And we're looking at about a $500 impact with the actual meter and the installation. And one of the ways, as we all work together on this, we're trying to find a way to make sure that there was no upfront impact, direct impact to the residents. That's why we kind of incorporated ARPA in this to fund year 1. And as the village board approved the water rate increase just recently, that's going to provide us the resources in order to fund year 2 and year 3. And hopefully in those 3 years we'll be able to change out the water meters. We're hoping to significantly reduce our water losses, and also make sure that we have smart meters. We're going to free up some of our staff. And for the resident, the other really important thing that we're facing is that we'll be able to detect water leaks a lot sooner, rather than every 3 months for the cycle. So the first thing is that we have a memo What we tried to do, what staff tried to do, is basically outline how we got to this point, step by step. So I think as we engage with our residents, I think this is a good chronological order of how we got to this point. So that's the reason why we gave you this memo. And also to highlight the total amount that we're using for the ARPA funds. And then the next memo, the other memo for your records as well, is, if approved tonight, the final breakdown of our ARPA funds. So you could have that as well. We have $35,000 that went back in 2022 that went to the first responders for the COVID response. And then after that, another $70,000 that went to the roof of our water building / public works department. That was after we found out that we needed to replace the roof after construction started. And the rest ended up going to our water infrastructure. So with that said, you have a purchase order in front of you from Core and Maine for the amount of $279,237. That's going to give us an additional 611 meters on top of what we approved at the last meeting of 300 meters, so we can get a jump start on the purchase. It also calls for the infrastructure, the wireless infrastructure for meter reads to be purchased up front as well. The other positive thing about going this route is that once the first phase is done, we're going to have the opportunity to read the first phase remotely. We're not going to have to be using our staff to go out, and that's going to be one less route they're going to have to
And
go.
the residents will be able to look in real time on their phones with this. That's another bonus. Instead of waiting for your bill to come, like you said, and then we have people coming and saying, why did I have so much water loss? They'll be able to look at this and see for themselves if there's any variant. I'm sure you can set it up on there to where it alarms you even if there is a significant increase.
Our staff will be notified if there's a high consumption of water immediately.
Now, I like the idea that they could see if there's additional use of water from what has happened in the past, to see if there's a leak. They could find that out quickly instead of, like you said, every 3 months.
It is, and it's also going to provide us, again, I think what we've been doing here for the last few years is, what staff has been trying to do is to provide you information and data in order for the board to make these decisions. We're hoping that this is going to provide us very good data, because this is only the first part in many other projects that we need, but I think this is the first logical step in trying to address the water meter issues, to see where that goes. Based on the data that this new system is going to be able to provide for us, we're going to be able to make good decisions on future investments and repairs to our water system.
Do we have to receive and store all these right away, and do we have space for them?
We're gonna, well, if we have space, we do have space, but again, we'll work with the contractor to see how we can go ahead and work the logistics of the meters.
Because how long will it take to install them? I mean, take a while, right?
Well, this isn't the complete purchase of the meter. This will get us through about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years of the process. And then with the maintenance fee, the newly implemented maintenance fee, that's going to provide us the funds to make another purchase.
So we figured out like how it changes the cost on installation for us, like buying them earlier. Does it change the cost plans for the installation cost for us?
The way we approach this is that and again, we're only speculating. We speculated that there's a higher likelihood of the cost of the actual equipment to go much higher than the actual cost of the labor.
So on everything we've drug our feet on the past recent times, this cost has gone significant. The ambulance, my building, the police cars. We couldn't even get the police cars. The cost has gone up greatly.
Right, that's not what I'm asking about.
No, but no, you're saying he's saying we're buying the meters up front. because we're locking in the rate, and he's thinking that with all the stuff's gonna go on with the economy, the meters are gonna jack up.
Yeah, I understand, but that's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking about how does it change our plan for the installation of the meters? Do we plan on installing them sooner? Do we plan on storing them? You know,
Right now,
through
the plan
layers?
the plan is to store them. We committed to a 3-year plan,
Mhm.
and for right now, that, what we can see, we're gonna continue with that 3-year plan.
So our plan is to still install them the same way we would have before?
Yes.
We don't have a schedule even, do we, from the contractor?
We don't have a schedule.
We don't even know what our plan is.
But the plan is 3 years, we just don't have the details.
We don't have a schedule, period, so we couldn't even know if we were gonna put them in tomorrow, or next year, or 6 months from now, there's no plan.
And
set
we
in
don't know
place.
where, so we still have to figure out where we'll store them and everything. Okay.
Worst case scenario,
Okay.
I'm sure the vendor would accommodate any request for us.
Well, I talked to Tim about that.
Or a
And
Connex
he-
box. We
I
put
talked
them in
to Tim
our-
about that, he said they have storage facility, they have a place to put them,
Mhm.
for Public Works. Yeah. And, the reason we're doing this is because, like you said, tariffs may go up and
Yeah,
it will
I
cost
understand
more.
that.
So buy them now and get them on hand, so, we don't have to pay the extra price. If it
And there's other examples of we delay purchases, but the main difference here is that we have the pot of money to make the purchase. And that's important, that we're making a purchase and we have allocated funds for it.
Did you say it was 600 meters?
Yeah, 600.
So that would be one 40-foot Connex box, which would hold, just because I know construction-wise, one 40-foot Connex box, which we rent from ourselves at my company for about $50 a month, if that, so if anything, the storage would be, so that's $600 for a year for storage, so at the most, $1,200, if we had to rent a Connex box. But I think we could figure out between the old ESTA building, that garage, and our garage, I think we could facilitate storage. Because they're not that big of both.
They're not.
When do the contractors expect to, let's say, have some kind of a schedule? Do they have any idea?
I'm hoping by the end of next month, we should have a schedule.
And will we be meeting as trustees to understand what the schedule is and how they're gonna?
We'll make sure that we provide you updates.
Okay.
As part of this project, because it is a significant project, one of the things that staff is working on right now is just a comprehensive informational outlet to make sure that, just like we kind of put everything in writing as in how did we get to this point, to make sure that the general public understands how we got to this point when we talk about the water study, that the data that the village board used to make this decision, that's going to be available to the public. Our infrastructure plan is going to be available to the public all in one place. So they understand, for those who actually want to do the research, they understand why we came to this conclusion. And also highlighting the point that the timing was perfect, and the timing was perfect because the village board had the data from the experts, and we had this pot of money that we needed to use, and we used it to make sure that the residents weren't directly impacted up front with any cost of changing out the meters.
And that's the only other thing, and I talked with Dave about this, we have to come up with an inspection plan. If we're forcing this upon our residents, we need to be inspecting this stuff with people from our departments. It just has to. You can't just rely on that. Baxter Woodland said this company was good. It's like anything. If you go to any school, these schools that were built over here, we didn't even have electric to the drinking fountains in that brand new school. Why? Because it's a state project. They don't have inspectors for state schools. You have to inspect stuff. Just being in the construction, principally, you have to make them just to know, even if they know you're coming, they're going to do their due diligence, just to, and not in fear. It's not like you're trying to scare them. It's just so they're aware that we're watching. Big Brother is watching you, make sure that you do the job properly.
And that's something that we could definitely set up. And one of the very preliminary plans is, of course, utilizing our plumbing inspector, which is a local contractor, in case there's any issues that we need to address, inspect. that we would go ahead and send out our plumbing inspector.
You know, it would be a good idea, like, to do that with the building inspector, that he would have a sheet, everybody, and that they would have the same sheet, and just check off to make sure, and then we have a file and a record of that address, how it was installed, so on and so forth, and then, of course, we can digitize it too.
I'm happy you mentioned that, because that's all gonna be, all the information from that water meter is gonna be placed in our program, which is on GIS. So,
Right.
people make fun of how excited I was about my first GIS map, but it's pretty exciting that,
Isn't it funny?
that we can go ahead and have that technology that's also available to the public. So, it's all about data collection.
Can the water meters be hacked?
Oh, don't say that on the camera.
All of a sudden, your water bill goes up.
I wouldn't doubt that sometimes.
So, with that said, I'm requesting a motion to approve the,
Can I ask a question before
Yes,
you go
ma'am.
there?
Second.
So that I understand the breakdown, so that I understand the breakdown, the motion is for 280,000. The 300 meters that we approved shows 110, and then the 600 meters plus installation is 180. Not that I'm complaining, but it seems like that's a really good deal for 611 meters. Or is that just my misunderstanding of the cost? Again, I'm not sad that we're getting twice as many for just a very little amount, but considering the cost, of course. But I just want to understand.
Well, I believe that is because of the size of the meters,
Sure.
because there's different sizes,
Okay.
and that's where the price fluctuates.
Okay.
So if you look at this, if you look at the meter sizes, you have 3/4. That unit price is 130,000, and then you have 265 that are at 210,000.
Okay.
So the prices fluctuate, and in order to get right to that price point that we needed, we just basically played with the meter sizes to make sure that we were right on the money when it came to,
And clearly, some are more expensive and different sizes. Then why would we fluctuate between the two sizes and the higher cost of the ones that are, so that I understand that? So, in other words,
Why not buy all the small ones?
well, why not buy all the smaller ones and then get even more, basically?
because it depends on what area we're gonna be focusing on.
Okay.
And it's gonna have a different size meter.
Okay.
Those areas still haven't been determined, but we need to have a mix of meters, in order to do the
different-
meter
Are you
change.
still guesstimating on it?
We're still estimating, yes. But if we don't use in round 1 or 2, if we don't use that particular size meter, we're probably gonna use it in 3.
So those still the orders that you're still gonna have to make another order anyways?
We're gonna have to make another order to complete this.
You would no matter what?
Yes,
Okay.
because we're using the ARPA money, and then after the ARPA money, we're gonna start using our water fund.
Right.
With the extra maintenance fee that we have, and that's gonna be the pool of money that we're gonna be using to fund the second half of phase 2 and phase 3.
So let's say that you're wrong, and that we don't use this size, but it seems that we're gonna use this other size. Do we have a way to get a credit for those that are
I'm sure
unused
we're
or
gonna
switched,
be,
or?
I'm sure we're gonna be able to return them.
I think it's important that we have that in the contract that, you know.
We can. These are all pretty much common size meters that we're using. One of the disadvantages that we have, and the advantages that we are gonna have, is that we don't have the data on what type of meters are out there.
Right.
And it's a mix. So if we had proper documentation of every single meter, we would be able to really be on the money of what we need.
I just shudder a little on the thought that we have all these and then we can't use them and they just sit in storage for eternity and we've lost $110,000 or whatever. So that's the only reason that, I mean, it's a good reason to bring it up, that we just don't have them laying around if we can't use those ones.
I'm sure in that we'll talk to the contractor to make sure that we can get an exchange on this, but this is less than half of what we're gonna need in the entire village.
Isn't this the whole reason we spent that money on Baxter Woodman, so that they could figure this out for us and they wouldn't lead us astray not to purchase said meters? I'm just talking out loud here. We sat in there, they promised it, they should know all that information. I don't care what type of meter it is, it's a household size, the pipe coming in, should be no guessing at that point. You have X many houses, and the size of the house depends on the pipe size.
You're logically thinking. The only issue is that we're dealing with meters that were put in here over 40 years ago, which the village has absolutely no records on. That's a challenge, without getting access inside each and every house.
So what's the size of, most resident is 3/4 or 1 inch, right? Right?
But see, we
In
didn't-
today's standards, I can't tell you what the standards were 40 years ago.
Yeah, because, you know, we didn't
You
have
always get a
codes.
reducer.
We didn't have codes, you know, prior to.
I'm just saying, it's just a pipe size, you can get a reducing bushing.
Yeah, you could.
I'm not a plumber, but the electrical,
But yeah,
you can get a reducing bushing.
We have 2,500 households, roughly, right?
2,500 accounts,
Yeah, so we're gonna have to buy more. I think the likelihood that we're gonna use all of these is fairly high. You're right, I mean, most of these are 3/4 or 1 inch. They'll be able to
Right.
use adapters
Yeah, they
to
have
get
the
there.
bases and, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think we won't be using, I can't say that because I'm not a professional in that.
I think
Nor
that's
am
part
I.
of
I
it.
just want to be
No, it's a
cautious.
good question, no, it's great, it's
But you'll be
great.
able to find out, based on what trustee Braden said, be able to make sure that we'll have it in there to
Return.
return
If we
or
don't-
be able to
Right.
solve that issue if it comes. Right.
Yes. It's that unknown. And we're hoping that moving forward, with the new technology and with these efforts, we're gonna have detailed records on every single water meter there is out there.
Yeah, I get this is a great plan, I just want to make sure we have a backup plan too. That's all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dave, do you know, is there?
We have to answer
is-
for it.
Is there a contingent fee, like, let's say, because when they get into things, there's gonna be some things that they haven't, you know, that's not in the installation cost.
We
It's
talked
like,
about that.
when I went into construction, we usually did a 10% increase, just in case.
In
never know.
the installation RFP, it calls for $150,000 in contingencies.
Okay.
Over the 3 years. What staff did is that we only put under ARPA, we only put $30,000 for contingency. And the reason why we did that is that we don't want to risk losing that money if the contingencies are not used during the period of
Mhm,
ARPA.
mhm.
So it is kind of, it's a gamble, but I'd much rather pay the contingencies using our water fund than lose $20,000 because we didn't use it during that period. So yes, there are contingencies.
Because I'm looking at the east side of Sheridan Road, that's, I think, where we're gonna,
And if it's slab on grade, I asked them this right away, if it's slab on grade and you go in there and you start messing with that pipe, it could break off into the, now we're cutting concrete and digging. just
I got
because-
slab on grade,
I-
64 though.
Yeah, but I'm just, that's the contingency part, because now you have, you could shut the water off, sure, but they have to have water by the, you know, the end of the day.
It is the unknown,
Yes.
it is really the unknown.
what is known is the motion.
Yes.
Yes, there was a motion and I already seconded it before she got time.
There wasn't a motion yet, there was just a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no first, sorry, you seconded nothing yet,
Yeah.
so we have to finish, sorry.
Let's do it official.
Let's do it
I need a
official.
motion to approve a purchase order from Core Maine for the purchase of an advanced metering infrastructure system and residential replacement water meters not to exceed $280,000.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any questions? All right. Roll call.
Roll call. Trustee Marabella?
Aye.
Trustee Hargit.
Aye.
Trustee Weiss.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Trustee Green.
Aye.
Motion carried. Anything else, Dave?
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
You want to do public comments on unfinished business? I'm just asking. It's on there. Any
Merry
motion?
Christmas.
Motion to adjourn, got a motion,
So
before I even
moved.
asked it. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. So roll call.
Aye.
Everybody in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
We need to